Are going to convene the informational forum hosted by the Commission on America 250. Actually, it's American's semi-quincentennial. It took me a year to know how to say that, which is why we now call it America 250. And just to start out, thank you for being here. We're hoping that today will bring more attention to the incredible event that will be next year, a celebration of America, the founding of America. We all know July 4th, and we all know that we do fireworks and so forth and parades. But we see this as what we used to call in education as a teachable moment for the American public to not only celebrate America, but to learn more about it. And not just about the founding period. And we're going to talk a little bit about why the commission was formed. It was formed by the governor a couple of years ago, and we've been working ever since to try to bring some cohesion to what will be a big event, I think, next year. We were formed through an executive order. And by the way, I am Denise Merrill. I am the chair of this commission, former secretary of the state and former legislator, and actually former co-chair of the Appropriations Committee. So I feel right at home up here. Yes, Bob. And it's been a real treat to be back in the building after many years away. So the commission was formed by the governor by executive order number 22-2. And just to reflect on that a little bit, we are the state commission. There is a national commission that will be organizing events at the national level to celebrate the 250th anniversary. And there are many of the states also have commissions, and they're each doing something a little different. We like to think we're very important because, of course, we were one of the original 13 colonies, but also Connecticut played an outsized role in the events of 1776 and the entire Revolutionary period. So we have chosen to focus on the towns. We hope that every town in Connecticut will do something around this occasion. And already many of the towns have organized their own local commissions and local committees to celebrate this event. So here is the actual charge for our commission. We are to assist in ensuring that any observance of the semi-quincentennial, 250th, of the American Revolution is inclusive and appropriately recognizes the experiences and points of view of all people. We think this is a very important charge because one goal of the commission by this charge is to ensure that everyone feels part of the American story. And there are many stories about the American Revolution that still remain untold. So we're hoping this will be a time where we can tell some new stories, uncover some new things primarily in the towns, and that has already commenced. So that's a very important charge. I think we take it very seriously. We want to encourage civic, historical, educational, economic, arts, and other organizations throughout the state to organize and participate in activities. And we'll tell you a little more about what we've done around that charge in a little while here. We need to collaborate with state and local tourism agencies to promote the state as a prominent cultural and heritage tourism destination. Tourism could be a big part of all this because, as I said, Connecticut had such an outsized role and very important role with many interesting and important historic sites throughout the state, everywhere in the state. So this is a moment that we can, bring that to bear on the whole occasion. We want to encourage interdisciplinary and scholarly examination. It is an opportunity for those who are interested in studying history to do more of it about this period in Connecticut, and to explore the ways in which the ethos of the United States national founding period and the 250 years that follow influence the country's present and can shape its future. We are not just going to look at the past and what has happened. We really want to look at what were the ideas that drove us forward at that time, and what will this country look like in the next 250 years. And in that way, we hope very much to focus on the next generation of Americans coming up right now and educational programs and so forth that can help inform where we go from here. And finally, to coordinate, engage, and liaise with the United States 250th Commission and other state and local commissions and private and public organizations and partners. And we have done some of that too. I'm sure we will hear about that further. So one more word about the charge that we have, which is, no, go ahead to the next slide. The vision, we have spent several years thinking very deeply about what we want to celebrate. What do we want to, how do we want to think about this occasion? And so we crafted a vision statement. Now, I have to say, crafting vision statements is not my favorite thing to do. I don't know if any of you have ever done it before, but you sit in a room and try to think about words, for days, and everybody has a different opinion. We were pretty good on this one. We didn't spend a huge amount of time word crafting every word, but I think it is a very, very good encapsulation of what we think is the vision. And you can read it right here. A successful 250th in Connecticut will be defined by its reach and impact, specifically the number of opportunities created for civic engagement and the degree to which those opportunities make all residents of Connecticut feel represented and included. And that is what I was saying before, that we want every person in this state to feel like they are part of our state and its history. And you can read the rest there. So we want to see this as a model for other events that will surround this whole. It's not just about July 4th and the Declaration of Independence. It's about much more than that. And there are many events and ideas that we need to talk about at this point in our history. A teachable moment, as I said. So here are the themes, and maybe I'll turn this over to my colleague, Cindy Tolosa, who is with the Connecticut Humanities Council. And I need to say a word about that. They are the administrative agency that is administering the commission, staffing it, and doing all these wonderful things, bringing everything together and communicating out with the towns and with other states and the National Commission. And so I'm very grateful for everything they've done so far. And Cindy is the I don't know, what's your title exactly?
Project manager.
Project manager. There you go. She's in charge. So thank you very much, Cindy. And I'm happy to turn this over to you, and you can explain a little more about what we're doing here today.
Yeah, thanks, Denise. And I will say that Jason Mancini sends his regrets. He is home with the flu and really wanted to be here with everybody today. So the commission has worked hard to develop the 4 themes that you see behind us here today. Those 4 themes are Tell Inclusive Stories, which is really about uncovering those previously untold stories in Connecticut's history, particularly as they connect with the American Revolution. For the Common Good, which really encourages civic engagement and the need to continue to build our communities, state, and nation using the democratic ideals outlined in the founding documents. Power of Place focused on the unique identities and contributions of all 169 towns and the 5 recognized tribes here in Connecticut. And finally, Doing History, thinking about Connecticut's role in the revolution and ensuring that the history that we're doing around this anniversary is rich and representative and accurate. So the commission has put together 5 subcommittees who are working to do this work. We have a community and organizational engagement subcommittee, education subcommittee, governance, tourism and marketing, and inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. So the plans that you hear moving forward have been developed and vetted by these subcommittees through their work.
I need to interrupt just for a second because I wanted to introduce our sponsors. A quick interlude. I wanted to make sure that I introduced some of the sponsors of today's informational forum, some of the legislators that have been involved in this effort and hopefully will continue to be involved and encourage their colleagues to be involved. I'd love to see every legislator in the building be part of this and go home and encourage their towns to form committees if they haven't already. So first, Kristen McCarthy Vahey, a representative from Fairfield. So if she'd like to say a few words. Thank you very much, Kristen, for sponsoring this today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Actually, it's all of you who deserve the thanks. And I'm honored to be here with Representative Godfrey and also Representative Brown, who is back and forth between hearings. And he is actually one of the best people positioned to help take the message forward as a teacher and one who is helping our young people engage in civics and history and how they can use their voices. But I would just love to say, just to share for a second, what I was thinking about as I was driving up today and joining all of you. We were at Fairfield University recently, and the president of Fairfield U was talking to us about Tocqueville. I can't even say it right,
De
but well, not de Tocqueville, but he was using the term Tocquevillianism, or I forget how he said it. But the bottom line is he was talking about the role of civic institutions in the fabric of our society. And he kind of said, no offense to you elected officials here, but really the fabric of our nation is the civic and educational institutions. And of course, I was kind of like, well, it's the government that we formed and our civic institutions together. It doesn't really matter. Is it more of one than the other? We don't actually exist in this nation without both, without all. And what you've said this morning, Madam Secretary, is absolutely spot on in terms of the sense of belonging, inclusion, and connection with one another and being able to tell those stories and share those stories and the power of story and the sharing of ideas. And that's what I was thinking about as I was driving up here is what do I love about being a legislator is that we get to sit here and share ideas, not just for the sake of sharing ideas, but for the sake of making sure that we create those connections among all those institutions, that we provide support for education and support for our civic institutions. So that is a very long way of saying thank you to every institution here today, to our models and leaders who have paved the way for us, and to our models and leaders, and I'm pointing to you, Representative Brown, who are paving the way for our future leaders as well. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you.
And now I'd like to give my colleague Bob Godfrey a chance to say something about this. He's a longtime member of the legislature from the city of Danbury. Danbury had again, an outsized role in the Revolutionary War, but also I know Representative Godfrey to be a student of history and a longtime colleague. So
Thank you, Denise. I really appreciate it. And contrary to popular belief, Denise and I did not host Washington in many of the days that he slept over in Connecticut, although we do remember the bicentennial.
yes.
So I'm was involved in that. I'm very happy to be involved in this. And I really applaud your leadership on this. And you're absolutely right. Danbury was pivotal during the Revolutionary War. In the spring of 1777, General Tyron out of New York sailed up Long Island Sound, landed near Fairfield, came up what's now the Black Rock Turnpike, and burned Danbury because it was a supply depot for Washington's armies. So it's something we celebrate. I actually live a block from the site where General Worcester, who led the colonial forces, the U.S. forces, died of his wounds suffered during the Battle of Ridgefield as the British retreated. The other hero, of course, of the Battle of Ridgefield was this general named Benedict Arnold. We don't talk about him much, however. So it's just exciting to be a part of this. And just within blocks of my house is a few of the buildings that survived the burning of Danbury because they were owned by Tories. And had a big white cross painted on them so the British wouldn't burn them. But the outcome was so disastrous for the British while they technically won, the casualties were so high, they never tried to do this kind of thing, landing on the shore, going into a depot inland for the rest of the war, which allowed the forces of Washington and others to have those supplies, even during Valley Forge. So I'm delighted to be a part of this, because it's not only a part of Connecticut history, but a part of Danbury history. Congratulations again on the job you're doing, Denise.
Thank you very much, Representative Godfrey. And I'm happy to report that I'm looking forward to seeing what Danbury what stories they will tell in Danbury about these things during this period. So thanks for your support. Okay, I think we'll continue on. There is a list of other co-sponsors that are on the invite today, and many of them are in other meetings, and they said, well, I'm very, very supportive of what you're doing, and our towns are very involved, but we'll have other meetings, but they'll be popping in and out, as I understand it. Okay, go ahead, Cindy, thanks.
And so moving on to, we wanted to make sure that legislators and those in the audience today are aware of what the commission has accomplished over the last couple of years. You should have all received a annual report in your mailboxes earlier this month. But we have been working hard to reach the goals that were laid out in the action plan from the governor. So the first goal was to uncover and share stories that represent all the people of Connecticut, past and present. We have been working with local committees and organizations across the state on exhibitions, presentations to this effect. Last year, we hosted the Declaring Freedom Conference in partnership with Central Connecticut State University and had hundreds of students and citizens interested in the semi-quincentennial there to learn, to work together and imagine what this will be in 2026. And so we continue that work as we move forward. We've also been working on creating a community-based structure that will be used for commission work moving forward. So this is those local committees that we have been talking about. At the end of 2024, we had 59 local committees. Today, we are up to 78 and excited as more continue to come in. So we've got almost half of Connecticut covered and look forward to getting more folks on board. We also have currently 91 affiliate organizations throughout the state. You'll hear from a couple of those here today, as well as a couple of our local committees. But we continue to do that grassroots outreach, hoping to increase those numbers moving forward. And then finally, we had a goal to invite the public to engage with the themes of the 250th Commission. We're relying on that grassroots network to do a lot of that work for us. So our local committees, our affiliate organizations, but we are also out there engaging with folks when they're thinking about the 250th and the 4th of July. So summer's become a busy time for us, and we're sure you'll see more of us and our colleagues at events throughout the state. And so on the screen behind me are a few other highlights. So as I said, we're up to 90, I think we're 91 now, 250th affiliates, 78 of those local committees, 41 events hosted throughout Connecticut so far affiliated with the 250th, with 1,500 people engaged. Connecticut Humanities has made funding the 250th a priority. We have already funded 29 projects with $307,000 and will continue to do so. Our staff has participated in 6 nationwide convenings and 39 commission meetings and gatherings in 2024. So looking ahead to 2025, we are really focused on educating, engaging, and exciting Connecticut's public. So on March 21st, we will be hosting a conference at the University of Connecticut Stores, Shaping a Commemoration Rooted in Belonging. And that conference will have 18 different presenters who will share different themes for different folks interested in the commemoration of the 250th. So we hope many of you will join us there. We are also building curriculum packets for K-12 educators, and those will be distributed by this fall, this summer, with the hope that they'll be in classrooms by this fall. So really focused on grades 3, 5, 8, and high school, which is where most students learn about Connecticut history, and tying in both that history aspects and that civics aspect for teachers. Working with the Office of the State Historian, we're developing a statewide exhibition for 2026 that will be available for local municipalities and affiliate organizations. Continuing to be present at festivals and events throughout Connecticut as a way of engaging with the public and other constituents here in the state. Expanding outreach to affiliate organizations. I mentioned we're at 90 or 91 right now, but we have a target to hit 250 by July 4th of 2026. So we will continue to reach out to the organizations that are missing right now. We have a lot of our history organizations on board, but thinking beyond that. We are also using this as an opportunity to engage in nationwide efforts. We were just on a call yesterday with the National 250th Commission. They have a variety of initiatives that they'll be inviting us all to participate in, including America's Field Trip, which is an opportunity for students to submit essays and art projects related to their relationship with America. And continuing to fill out our local committees. We have, I can't do math that quickly, but about 90 left to go. So we're going to hit all of those communities as we move forward. Also sharing that we will be collaborating with CT Visit on tourism and should have a big announcement in time for our conference in March. So please look out for that. Although Connecticut Humanities has embraced America 250 projects, we are encouraging other grant funders to do the same and make this a priority. On the national level, that will be a priority for a lot of federal grants moving forward, and we're hoping we can do the same here in Connecticut. And finally, planning signature events leading up to the July 4th of 2026. So we look forward to celebrating, commemorating, and spending 2026 with everybody here. So those are really the goals of the commission, but I really want to pass it over to some of the organizations doing this work. So I'm going to let Rob Krett from the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History speak next on some of their plans coming up.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. The Connecticut Museum of Culture and History has been actively engaged in Connecticut's preparation for America 250 since 2020. We've hosted planning sessions with other museums and cultural agencies and partnered with Connecticut Humanities in advocating for funding and support. I serve on the Connecticut 250 Commission, and I'm also very active in seeking federal support for America 250 efforts with colleagues from across the country. I'm going to highlight a few of the projects at the Connecticut Museum related to the 250th. First is a project that revolves around the digitization of a number of American Revolutionary War papers. It's a 3-year project. It elevates, contextualizes, and makes more accessible a collection of 18th century manuscript holdings in the museum's collection that relate to political, military, professional, personal, and cultural lives of Connecticut's diverse population. The grant supports a scholar in residence who will work with the museum staff to identify documents and collections that align with America 250 themes, such as Unfinished Revolutions, Power of Place, We the People, American Experiment in Doing History. The scholars' work with the museum education staff will be integrated into some of the K-12 school programs. There are 2 exhibitions that are under development, and the first is called Living Democracy. That exhibition will use an advisory board of members from the community with a focus group to develop an exhibition about democracy and the ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It will explore the legacy of democratic participation and civic responsibility in the 250 years since the start of the American Revolution. Objects and stories ranging from the red wool uniform jacket worn by Connecticut loyalist Munson Haight to a pair of leather shoes worn by Hartford community leader William Brown during the 1963 March on Washington. These will encourage visitors to examine narratives from multiple viewpoints, expose them to people and perspectives that have historically been excluded, and challenge them to think critically about how they understand the legacy of the American Revolution. The second exhibition under development is Clay Arsenal, A People's History. It's being developed in collaboration with between our museum and students from the Classical High School in Hartford. The exhibit will use a graphic novel format to tell a story about movement, belonging, and identity in Hartford's North End. The exhibition will tell a story that reflects the larger immigration narrative at the core of the American experience, emphasizing people and place often ignored by traditional historical narratives. This exhibition elevates the America 250, Connecticut 250 themes of We the People and Power of Place. By inviting students and other members of the Hartford community to shape this exhibition, the museum aims to make a process and not just a product that is steeped in collaboration and meaningful storytelling, or doing history. There are a number of other programs and events, and I'm just going to touch on 2 or 3 of them. One is community dialogues, and throughout the year, the museum will be active with our partnership with the Democracy and Dialogues Initiative at UConn and host a series of events that will explore 4 issues: a nation of immigrants, what it means to be an American, the role of civics in community life, and what does America 250 mean to you? The second project will be more of a public program that revolves around the digitization effort. We'll celebrate the completion of the first phase of that project, and there will be activities that will include decoding a letter written with numeric codes using a Revolutionary War code book that's in our collection, listening to celebrity guests read excerpts from letters and diaries that deal with what life was like during the war, and much more. And the third to highlight is Reflections on War, Engaging Community in Conversation. This program will encourage and facilitate meaningful, productive dialogue around war by engaging members of the community and veterans in an active dialogue. It will incorporate perspectives of service members as documented in their letters and accounts across different conflicts from the Revolutionary War to today. Participants will study secondary literature along primary source material from the museum's collection to understand the similarities and the differences of military experiences throughout our 250 years as a nation. We also plan to continue to extend this project with public conversations with our partner at Connecticut Public, where participants will be invited to be a part of the Where We Live program. And to align with Veterans Day, the museum will host a public roundtable discussion with program participants. Just to wrap up, there will be a number of other things that will be offered, including lectures, programs, family programs, school programs in the Revolutionary War, about the Revolutionary War and civics. And we're also in conversation with Connecticut Public about partnering with them when they host a screening of the upcoming documentary by Ken Burns on the American Revolution. So in all, the organization will probably spend somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million on these America 250 exhibitions, programs, and events, and that scale will fluctuate based on what we're able to raise. And in particular, I think what would be most helpful for organizations like mine is that if we had additional funds to support the marketing and promotion of all these activities. I think you'll hear from my colleagues that there's a lot of content and substance that's being presented, and I think that organizations do an excellent job with that, but often have a challenge in getting the word out about the kind of quality programs that are available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rob. And I'm going to invite my friends over to the right to actually slide down 3 seats. We can't quite see you on the camera. But once they slide down, we have Jessica Jenkins, Executive Director of the Litchfield Historical Society here, and she'll be able to share some of the plans going on up in Litchfield. Thank you guys, sorry.
Good morning. Thank you, Cindy. So as Cindy mentioned, my name is Jessica Jenkins, and I am the executive director of the Litchfield Historical Society up in Litchfield, Connecticut. For those of you who do not know us, we are a local history organization dedicated to sharing the history of the town of Litchfield. And we really work to make the past usable by connecting our community and audiences with their history and culture to chart a way forward. We really work to support a critically engaged citizen through doing history, which is one of those themes that you will recognize that you've heard about today. So as you've just heard from my colleague Rob, Connecticut's history organizations are hard at work planning on the upcoming 250th. And at our organization, we are rolling out our first 250th programs here in 2025, and we will continue those efforts throughout 2026 and into 2027. As Rob kind of alluded to, what we are able to achieve will somewhat depend on the support we are able to receive to do that critical work. So through exhibits, panel discussions, community conversations, walking tours, performances, we're really looking to put a focus on exploring the ideals that are presented in the Declaration of Independence. That is the view that we are taking at our organization, and we're really looking to explore what the 250th means through multiple lenses and multiple voices. This is really being done to emphasize that history is not an unapproachable monolith. Instead, it is really a diverse perspective of perspectives, viewpoints, and that's really reflective of what our community and what our state is today. We are not a singular view, we are many voices that come to the table. So by highlighting our community stories, we are really looking to hope to build a collective appreciation that all experiences have value by really deepening an appreciation of history and broadening the perspectives on who is part of the American story. At my organization, we feel that everyone is part of that story, even though we as an organization have maybe not done the best job in the past of presenting all of those stories. So we are really looking to redress that and using the 250th as a catalyst to do that work. So just to give you all a few ideas of what's coming up for us here this year, we will be celebrating the 200th anniversary of the publication of the narrative of William Grimes. If you're not familiar with Grimes, Grimes wrote the first fugitive slave narrative in this nation. He was a one-time landholder in Litchfield and has connections to many, many communities across this state. And he is most certainly a man who was a freedom seeker who embodies the ideals that were put forth in the Declaration of Independence. So we are taking a moment this year to really shine a light on his story and amplify that voice. We're also working on an exhibition this year called Litchfield Remembers that focuses in on how our community has commemorated and celebrated anniversaries in the past. And we are using it as a moment to work with our community to think through how other organizations can come to the table to commemorate what is happening in 2026 and really the year surrounding it. Moving beyond that in 2026, we are working to pull together an exhibition that will in many ways share some of Litchfield's tried and true's revolutionary stories. So those stories of Marianne Wolcott and other individuals in Litchfield melting down pieces of the statue of King George to make cartridges. But rather than tell those stories in the way we always have, we are looking to do that in the round. So saying, what are the perspectives that haven't been at the table before? What are all of the stories that these objects and these stories that our community and our state knows well, what else can we learn from those? So I'll just kind of end here by saying that really, whether we are looking to uplift the story of William Grimes, whether we are looking to broaden the view of how our residents in Litchfield either contributed to or were affected by the revolution, we're really hoping to inspire and challenge our visitors to consider what the Declaration means today. And I'll just leave you with the idea that the work that the countless local history museums are doing across this state is not additive. It is critical to our communities, to our residents. And in order for us to be able to do that critical work for our communities, it does require critical support from across the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess. And as you can see, there's a lot of great work being done at organizations across the state, and we're looking forward to continuing that. Um, And then I would like to introduce next Pam Jones from the Ridgefield Town Committee, and I should remember the name, but I'll let
Of
you
the
introduce
Ridgefield Town
yourself.
Committee.
Yes.
It's super catchy. It's Ridgefield CT commemorates America 250. Isn't that catchy? Fits nice on a bumper sticker. My name is Pam Jones. I serve as the co-chair for our committee, along with Jeffrey Morris. Jeffrey Morris serves on the ECDC in Ridgefield, and I also serve on the Arts Council in Ridgefield. And my normal job is I'm the executive and artistic director of the Ridgefield Theater Barn, which is in its 61st season at in our beautiful space. Ridgefield, as you all know, received the first cultural designation in the state of Connecticut. So we have leaned heavily into that power and that engine that really runs for Ridgefield. We are about 9 months into our planning already for this. And we approached it. First, we asked for members to come forward from the general public because we did feel strongly that there would be people, not the usual people who come to the table when we're talking about these things. And I'm thrilled to tell you that 3/4 of our committee is made up of just general populace Ridgefielders who were interested in helping out with this initiative. So that was wonderful. We are looking at it as two anchor pillar events in the year. We're going to kick off all of our things this year on the 4th of July. The Keeler Tavern Museum and History Center has a wonderful program that they do annually for the 4th of July. So we're leaning into that and we're making it, it's going to be a townwide picnic. There's going to be food. There's going to be a contra dance. We're expanding on their normal programming. And we're also going to be launching many of our initiatives that the committee is putting forward. We'll have our swag and those sorts of things. We're doing a tree planting initiative across the town that you can deed on your property to acknowledge that common planting by everyone. Maybe 200 years down the line, we'll still have some great native trees around tied to that event. We will be having a Liberty Ball. We will have, that's in 2026. We'll have a parade and we will have fireworks, of course. We're also going to have a townwide, since Connecticut doesn't really have state fairs, we're sort of approaching it like a state fair state of mind where it's going to be a weekend long celebration with reenactors and food and arts. Within the arts and culture segment, I mean, it is absolutely astounding what everyone is doing. Speaking like from the Ridgefield Theater Barn, is you still there, Representative? We have commissioned a new piece on Sybil Luddington, who is a story that hasn't been told, most likely because she was a woman. But we're going to be telling that story, and that's going to be with a producing company where Marty Robinson, who is Mr. Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street, and his wife Annie Evans, they are the producing partners and creators of that, and so that's going to be a family puppet show. The Henson family will be participating in that as well, and we're also doing a production of Our Town, which we thought that classic we could really look at Ridgefield and who we are through that. But across the RSO, our symphony orchestra has programming planned. Keeler Tavern obviously has programming planned. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the archaeological efforts that are happening in Ridgefield after they found those 4 skeletons a couple of years ago. So that's pretty huge. Ridgefield Theater Barn is going to be partnering with Historical Society as well to do a StoryCorps type of I don't want to say event, it's going to be ongoing so that those stories, different stories and perspectives can be shared and preserved in perpetuity. I know the Aldrich Museum is actually starting a little ahead of the game. I think in April or May, they're going to have a exhibit that already ties into the sesquicentennia, sesquicentennia, 250. Yeah, I can't say it either. Yeah, so we really see this as an economic opportunity as well as an opportunity for community building. So we've leaned pretty heavily into it, and we're excited to get some things off the ground starting in July. So
Thank you, Pam. And then
Inspirational, I have to just say. That's just incredible what you're doing. It's such an inspiration. That's exactly why we have you and the others here today, to get some ideas for other towns that might think they might like to clone some of those things. So thank you very much. That was inspirational.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, we have Joya and Wesley from the Weathersfield Town Committee here.
Thank you.
I'm Joya Zach. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the town of Weathersfield. And as I am the staff liaison for our Tourism and Cultural Commission, which has taken the lead in all the planning and collaborating of our stakeholders, because the commission is made up of representatives throughout the town. So we are taking the lead to run the America 250 planning. And Wesley Brulick is our chair of the Economic and Development and Improvement Commission, and also artistic director of Times Fool, which is a theater group he runs in town. And we know tourism, culture, and economic development all support each other, run hand in hand. And so I want to start by thanking Connecticut Humanities, who plays a vital role in supporting municipalities and stakeholders by fostering collaboration, broadening the reach of community projects to maximize the impact. For Weathersfield, which is home to the state's largest historic and cultural district, the continued financial and technical support from Connecticut Humanities has proven invaluable. Past investments like projects in the Heritage Walk, cultural brochures have helped tell our rich history, showcase our unique assets, and attract global visitors. The efforts are not only critical to our community today, but essential to preserving and sharing Weathersfield's legacy for future generations. As we continue our America 250 planning, we're looking to make our Heritage Walk more accessible by offering multilingual options. The initiative will honor our town's diverse population. We have over 40 languages spoken in our high school as a primary language. And it'll reinforce Weathersfield's commitment to being an inclusive community. Our Historical Society, a key partner, plans to expand the Heritage Walk with new panels that tell the powerful stories of the enslaved people and other overlooked chapters of our history. The funds tied to Connecticut America 250 initiatives will help engage our local community in a celebration that highlights the importance of history, civics, volunteerism, and the positive far-reaching effects of understanding our nation's complete history. The celebration will offer a platform for economic development, enhancing our community's vitality and quality of life. Through collaborations with partners like the Webb Dean Stevens Museum, where Yorktown was planned, we're working to inspire and connect residents of all ages, especially our youth, with the rich history that shapes our future. Weathersfield's successful Heritage Weekend, an annual event, has room for expansion as it continues to engage the community through reenactments, allowing us to learn from our history, reflect on its lessons, and build a future grounded in understanding. Our goal is to tie together community celebrations with school activities, particularly focusing on engaging students. By involving young people in our telling of our shared history, we aim to capture the voices and experiences of all residents, instilling a deep connection to the past and a vested interest in shaping our future. In the planning stages are initiatives such as a townwide Thanksgiving dinner, a student-run town council to develop a strategic plan for the future, and a human library. These projects reflect our ongoing commitment to fostering collaboration and creating a lasting impact. For over 15 years, Weathersfield has been a model of success through working together as an inclusive community. The progress we've made is undeniable, and with the continued technical and financial support of Connecticut Humanities and the Connecticut America 250 team, we're excited to accelerate the momentum, further enhance the vitality of our town, and increase civic and community engagement.
Thank you so much. And Weathersfield is another inspiration to all of us. You've done so much there. And the governor and I did make a visit to the Webb Dean Stephen House, and it was really interesting. And you've done such a wonderful job. So that I look forward to all those events. Hope I can be there. Great. Now, I just want to take a moment to talk about and to thank the legislature for the funds that have been awarded for this effort. That's how we have our wonderful staff here today, for example. But there was also bond funds allocated for the renovation of many of the historic buildings in the state. So that went through in the last budget. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank the legislature and the governor for passage of that bill. And those funds, I think, will be very well used in places like Weathersfield and Litchfield and Ridgefield, where there are important historic sites that really need some attention and hopefully will be used. Some of it is designated for more accessibility, for example, which is very much needed as I understand it. We've been making site visits around the state to see, the various sites, and it's been really instructive as to what's going on out there. So again, thank you all for that. And thanks to the legislature and the governor for those awards. I think they're very important. Okay.
So thank you everybody for being here with us today. If you have any questions, please feel free, whether it's legislators or other legislative staff. We're happy to answer any questions about the work that we're doing. These organizations and town committees are happy to share. But otherwise, we thank you all for your time today.
And go out and make sure all those other towns come forward, because, and you see some wonderful examples here. There are more out there. We didn't have time to have them all here, but I know there's a lot going on out there. And I would echo what Rob Krett just said about our need for marketing. Many people come up to me and say, so what's going on? And, you hear it here. There's a lot going on, but we just need to get the word out. So that was one of the reasons for this forum today. And thank you very much. And a special thanks to Representative McCarthy Vahey for her sponsorship of the room. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everyone.